Hello, Kapinay. We are here in the United Center area with my cousin from Hawaii.
Hello.
Ferdinand,
First time in Chicago. Ang ganda dito.
Yes. Gusto niyang makita ang United Center. Kanya, solo namin ang United Center.
Gandang pagkal natin, solo. Solo natin.
Yan United Center in Chicago. Nice day today.
Yeah. Hey, thank you mga cousin.
Hello.
Nakarating ako dito. Yan.
Oh. Okay. Yan, United Center, the Chicago legend,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. Yan oh.
Libre yan. Open ang libre from 6 to ano.
Jordan. United Center. Let's go under the bin. Go. This is the famous bin. Come on. Come on, let's go there inside. That's me. Ayan, back to Chicago and Navy Pier, Kapinay. Pinapasyal namin yung pinsan namin from Hawaii.
Kaysa yung mga nandoon sa baba.
Yeah. Yan, yung aming turista, si Ferdinand from Hawaii. Yan yung John Hancock, yung maitim. Lake Michigan. There's your Trump Tower over there. John Hancock. Lakeshore Drive, Lake Michigan. And back to Navy Pier, touring our cousins. Lakeshore Drive, Lake Michigan. Yan, ang ganda. Ganda, dito diba? Kapinay, we're gonna do riverboat tour, architectural tour. Hello Edwin, hello Delia. Hi Ferdinand. Hi Giuliano. Yeah, we're gonna do riverboat tour Kapinay. See, this is the Lakeway Tower. Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good
Welcome aboard the Riverview, your shoreline sightseeing 75-minute architecture tour. My name is Captain Ben. I'll be piloting our vessel here today. The Riverview is a United States Coast Guard inspected passenger vessel, meaning we have all the equipment and training necessary in case of any emergencies.
You can actually go down the main branch of the river, take that down the south branch. The south branch connects to the Mississippi River, and eventually it exits into the Gulf. So why I bring all this up is that Chicago becomes the third most populated city in the United States today because of these water systems, the river and the lake. Because when Chicago becomes a city in 1837, there was no planes, no trains, no automobiles, so the fastest mode of transportation, we're on it. So it's because of these water systems, Chicago connects the Midwest and the rest of the country at that time. And who was the visionary, the founder of Chicago? Well, he is the namesake of this highway that we're about to go under. This is DuSable Lakeshore Drive, named after Jean-Baptiste Point DuSable. Initially from Haiti, he's of African descent. And rumor has it he established his trading post here along the river because he saw the importance of these. Let's talk about some of the cool buildings that make up this skyline. Maybe you look to your left. I want you to behold the blue wavy goddess, the second city saint, the third tallest building in Chicago, and the reigning, defending, tallest building in the world, designed by a female-led architectural firm. Yeah, something to hoot and holler about. That is St. Regis Tower, designed by Chicago's own Jeannie Gang. Now, if anyone's looking to move to Chicago, then I encourage you, maybe move into that penthouse suite at the top of the tallest tower. It will only cost you $20 million. He loved his nautical themes, and this building is quite literally sailing on a wave, because if you look behind it, it kind of looks like it's a building out of the Last of Us. Looks like one of those zombies out there. It has those white concrete balconies, right, that kind of cascade and water fall down. Aqua Tower was also designed by Jeannie Gang in 2009. Now those balconies are all tailor-made to each individual condo to prevent too much sunlight from getting into your room so that you use less air conditioning and thus less electricity. Aqua Tower is one of several buildings that has a certification called LEED. That means Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a designation that buildings can receive for being more conscientious of its energy consumption. As a teacher, none of the classrooms on the inside actually have any windows that look out into the outside. Even though you can't look out into the outside world, you can probably still hear the outside world with all the noises of the city. But the reason they didn't want to have any windows looking outside is because they didn't want to have any of their students be distracted. So a fun fact for you. Now let's bring your attention to the right. Let's take a look at the iconic, ornate, lavish Wrigley Building. Now there's two different towers. The main part, the clock tower, was done in 1921. The north tower was completed in 1924, just a couple of years later. Now everything in, wait a second, Wrigley, that rings a bell. Well, that's where the Wrigley Chewing Gum Company used to have their headquarters. And it's also the namesake of the friendly confines of the north side, Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. Now, if anyone has a younger sibling, you probably know that they tended to copycat what you did because they were still trying to find their own sense of what was cool. And American architects in the early 20th century were no different. That clock tower is modeled after a Spanish cathedral in Seville, Spain, and thus represents a style called Spanish revivalism. You see, American architects were still trying to find their own sense of architectural beauty. But now let's see how that evolves with time. We talked about the third tallest building with your first setback, that rooftop that juts out to the right. There are two other setbacks. One that juts out to the left. That's the same height as the white rocket ship building there to your left, Mather Tower. And then the third setback above us, same height as the black box going behind it. That's the AMA building. Building. It has the four crowns at each corner and the main crown up the middle. Sadly, sadly, that building was destroyed by Michael Bay in Transformers Dark of the Moon. But you also know that from the 2005 classic Batman Begins, peering over and moving over and looking at Gotham City above. Because yes, once upon a time, Chicago was Gotham City. More on that a little bit later on. Well, this building to your right kind of looks like the Batmobile. And that's the AMA building. Last building designed by famous German architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Now later on this adventure, but Mies van der Rohe was going to be a revolutionary architect and a great teacher. He was going to be the mentor of Bertrand Goldberg that designed the iconic corn cob towers there on your right-hand side. Now the official names of the corn cobs are the Marina City Towers. If you've seen the new Candyman movie of the 2010, you've seen one of the towers, which is also said to be very, very haunted. It's like taking a ghost tour on the Marina City Towers. But why is it called Marina City? Well, to your right at eye level, there is a marina underneath, and they represent what's called a city music venue. You have a bowling alley, office space, and gyms, and at one point in time, they even had a skating rink that they got rid of in 1992. Somebody skated too fast, vaulted over the edge, and fell down the river below. I actually made that one up. I want to see if you guys are paying attention. That's an old teacher trick. But somebody actually drove off the edge in 1980 as a part of the movie The Hunter starring Steve McQueen, which is why you're not actually allowed to park yourself, and it has to be a valet park. River Cruise, you will see 77 West Flagler. It has these white vertical columns that bring your attention towards the top. Now once you reach the top of that building, you will see the sun. Sorry about that, oh my gosh. If you don't want to see the sun, I'll explain what's up there. It's a triangular roof. That triangular roof is called a pediment. It was often popularized in ancient Greek-style architecture. What's on display is called neoclassical, a new take on an old architectural design. It's a way to show flattery and appreciation of what came before its man-made beauty. But they have a little bit of a tumultuous relationship with its natural beauty. Because sadly, in the 1800s and most of the 1900s, Chicago was no different than any other major metropolitan area. They would just dump their trash. I don't know. Also, this building is so pretty that those Pez dispensers are perpetually staring right at us. They are the merchant princes. People such as Montgomery Ward, Marshall Field, and Sears that brought a lot of money to Chicago way back when. But now, let's leave the old Roaring 20s behind us and enter the contemporary age, the new Roaring 20s. Hopefully you didn't put those cameras on because you're gonna need them. Ladies and gentlemen, points. Salesforce Tower directly in front of you. They just opened it last year. Shout out to our folks joining us from Hawaii because they have a special events room called the Ohana Room up there. Great views of Wolf Point. Now, here's some recommendations of what to check out in Chicago. You definitely have to engage in the cuisine, because if you're doing it right, you're probably going to take some home with you in the tune of about 5 to 6 pounds, because we salt everything in Chicago. Deep dish pizza, Chicago style hot dogs, cheese and caramel popcorn that we got from our friends in Minnesota. We had to remove the archaic form of insulation, which was matted horsehair and cork. Now on the right-hand side, I mentioned earlier that South Lakeshore Drive's bridge was raised time of year when they lower it for maintenance. But look behind the bridge. You guys see that giant slab of concrete? That's a concrete counterweight, and it moves opposite of where you want the bridge to go. Basically like a seesaw or a teeter-totter. Chicago has the second most movable bridges of any city in the world, second only to $1 million. But what's fascinating about that is when they were designed in the 1980s, people were heavily critical of them. Because they're like, who would ever want to move alongside the Chicago River? Don't you know that it's heavily polluted? It's disgusting. Well, what's interesting is the architecture shows a paradigm shift in how Chicagoans view the river. If you had a train line, if you heard a double rainbow, well now you have double L train because here's another one coming over. So they're on elevated train lines, but as we also know, they also go underground as well. But now, here's a life lesson I want outward. Polar opposites, but guess what? They complement each other because they curve inward and outward at the exact same radius, and that is intentional. Contextualism, flatter the man-made context. And guess what? They don't need to try and look like anything else. And you're thinking, okay, Don, I'm sick of looking at big black box buildings. What else do you have to offer in Chicago? Well, fear not, because in the 1970s, Chicago architects, they felt the same way. They said, hey, let's think outside the box. No more big black boxy buildings. So what's their bright idea?
White one.
Now they got big white box buildings. International style. That's Gateway Center 3. Now compare that with black box modernism. You go from the stark metallic exterior, compare that with the soft exposed concrete.
Thus we are on the west side now. On the ledge.
Happen. There's going to be the debut of a lot of things that people know and love today, including the debut of my favorite decadent delight, the debut of the brownie, spray cans, cracker across the world. And also, if you go along the Chicago River Walk, you can learn about one of the worst nautical disasters in American history, with real 24-karat gold at the top. That's half the thickness of Saran wrap. And guess what? What does that look like to you? Well, a little bit of the bubbly. Looks like a bottle of champagne. Better buy the alcohol. Like, come on. It clearly looks like a bottle of champagne. But then, Chicago is going to be put on the map in a very notorious way. Because they're going to have speakeasies to illegally distribute alcohol. And you remember the wedding cake building there to your right? Well, the main crown was rumored to be a speakeasy by famous bootlegger Al Capone. But that was not true. You know why? Because he was already serving time in Alcatraz. Not for bootlegging, not for murdering, not for organized crime. The largest Starbucks roastery and a Harry Potter shop as well. But no matter where you go, there's always iconic architecture. If you look to your left, let's see Chicago Tribune Tower. It has that ornate crown at the top. That's modeled after French Gothic Cathedral. It was built in 1925.